Hey you guys, it's Britt. Tonight we're here with a quick little update on Katie Sorensen. In my last video, I said I was closing the loop, but the loop just reopened because she has put out a very interesting video on her Instagram. So I figured I'm going to give y'all the Cliff's Notes version, and I've also downloaded the video, spliced it into kind of the biggest takeaways, and I will drop that in the very end for context. But we're going to go over what she had to say and how many lessons were not learned by her for almost 4 years later. So if you're interested, please keep watching. All right, so at the top, she says that she never wanted to get back on social media again, but people are mocking her family and her children, and she can't stay quiet about it anymore.
I pretty much never wanted to get back on social media again after what has occurred over the past 4 years. Well, it has turned into people mocking my family, my children, my husband, and I can't stay quiet about that anymore.
Did you have any empathy or compassion when you decided to literally lie on the couple that you lied on about trying to abduct your kids? I didn't see any compassion on their behalf, so why on earth would I feel bad for you? And in all the conversations that I've seen about this, I haven't seen people mocking her children. I've seen people talking about her and or her husband. So mocking kids, not cool, not now, not ever, but I haven't seen that. So it kind of seems like the thing that a lot of influencers do where they're like, oh my God, people are attacking my children, when all that people are doing is saying you're a terrible mother. I just turned on my lighting just a little bit, so if it looks different, that's why. But she also refers to how the last time she posted was 4 years ago when she was recounting an incident that she had while she was shopping with her children.
Yeah, in December of 2020, recounting an incident that I had while out shopping with my children.
Here we are almost 4 years later, and she is still referring to this as an incident. She is still referring to it as something wrong, something scary, something dangerous happened. I thought this video might be an apology, but obviously my expectations were set far too high for a mommy influencer. But you're still referring to it as an incident, which tells me early on in the video that you learned nothing. She then says how she always intended on sharing her story, but she wanted to do it in a well thought out manner. And last time she did that, she went to jail for it.
I've always intended on sharing my story, and I really wanted to do so in a very well thought out manner, because the last time that I shared a story online, I went to jail for that.
Hard stop. Miss Sorensen, you went to jail because you literally lied. You fabricated a kidnapping story and used your children as pawns in that story. That is why you went to jail. Nobody is going to jail for sharing something that happened to them. If you're sharing something that did not happen to you and you're filing false police reports, then that is a problem. Sharing stories, we love it. I love to hear stories from people on social media. I don't like to hear fabricated stories. She then goes on to talk about how in 2020, she thought that they were in danger and she wanted to lean on the if you see something, say something thing.
As a mother, it is my purpose in life to protect my children, and it is an instinct that I will always adhere to unapologetically. On Monday, December 7th of 2020, I felt as though my children were in danger, and so I did what we have always been taught to do, which is if you see something, say something.
But going back, the evidence and the body camera footage and the security surveillance and everything showed us that Katie Sorensen fabricated a story. I like the idea of if you see something, say something. But if you're saying something and that's based off something that never happened, that's a problem. You are putting other people in the line of fire. And we already know that Black and brown people are not treated fairly in this country by law enforcement officials. So you are literally putting their lives at risk for your fabricated story. Then she goes into this whole thing about how so many details in this case prove that she was honest with her recollection of the events that happened in December of 2020.
So many details to this story and to this case that prove that I was honest in my recollection of events as they transpired.
Again, that has been proven incorrect through the surveillance video, and law enforcement did their job. And it just so happened that she did not come out as the victim that she hoped that she would come out on the other side as. Then she says she called the police to file a report for suspicious behavior and was transferred to 911. Police asked her to come to their office to finalize the details of this report that she was filing. Less than 1 week later, she followed up and was told the case was closed because they couldn't find any information.
I was charged with 3 counts of filing a false police report. The first count was my 911 call to dispatch, which I actually didn't call 911. I called the police department to just simply report suspicious behaviors, and then they transferred me to 911. The second count was my follow-up with police, as they had requested for me to come to the police department to follow up and finalize details of this reporting. Less than a week later, I followed up with police regarding my reporting and was told that the case had been closed, that they couldn't find any information.
The cops are not always right, and I will say that, obviously. But I think these officers saw the red flags the moment that they started talking to her face to face. She also shares that she had guilt and shame, not for lying, but because she didn't handle the situation how she thought she should when thinking that her kids were in danger.
I sat in a lot of guilt and shame around the way in which that I handled the situation as it transpired. The guilt and shame that I felt was rooted in me not reacting the way that I felt that I should have when faced with a situation, like thinking that my children were in danger.
Again, lady, like your kids, it's been proven that your kids were not in danger, and we're still continuing this narrative thinking that, I guess she's thinking that people will believe it if she sticks with it for almost 4 years. Then we get to this part where she says she decided to share with social media what happened to her and her children at Michael's. The video went viral and things went out of control at that point.
A few days following, I decided to post to social media and share with my small Instagram account what had happened. I was not out for attention. I wasn't out for vengeance. I wasn't out saying, we need to find these people. It was simply a video saying, hey guys, I acted in a way that I never thought I would react when faced with a situation where I felt my children were in danger, and I carry so much guilt and shame for that, and it ended up going viral, and that's when things kind of spun out of control.
Again, the issue is not coming to social media to share a story that happened to you. The issue is that when it's fabricated, the police are going to say, okay, we have this police report, this body camera footage, and now we have this lady jumping on social media and not telling that same timeline or pattern of said events. They realize the differences in those two things, and that's what allowed them to basically expose the whole thing. We saw that interview with her and the detectives on her back porch, and like, why are we lying? Again, why are we lying and putting people's freedom at risk? Now, speaking of that interview on her back porch with her husband for part of it and these detectives, she claims she didn't know, she didn't have to let them into her house, and she didn't have to speak with them without having a lawyer present.
Following the viral nature of that video, police came to my home and followed up with me, requesting specific statements and information. I was not aware enough to know that I did not need to allow police into my home at that time, and it would have been in my best interest to have a lawyer present during that discussion.
My whole thing, it goes back to she's just mad that the lie was exposed. She's just mad that she didn't come out the victim that she wanted to come out as. And it's because you lied. If you fabricate a story, in a matter of time, it's going to come out. She's also still claiming in this video that her conversations with the detectives at her house, it was based on facts, which obviously I've said it before. I don't need to say it a million times in this video.
Because I was being honest, and so I went forward with that discussion with police, and that is the count that I was found guilty on for filing a false police report.
Then she goes into saying how you might think you know who I am based on headlines, but it's not true. I want to invite you to come along and see what actually occurred.
You may think that you know who I am based off of these headlines and the things that you've read and seen online, but the truth is, none of that is telling of who I really am. I want to invite you and encourage you to come along with me or on your own. See for yourself what actually occurred.
Anyone that wants to go ahead and follow her, that's obviously their choice. But what I can say is I speak for a large percentage of people that exist on social media to say that most people just don't tolerate liars. It has nothing to do with a headline or some article that a random magazine put out. It comes back to most people just don't like liars. Then she says, are you familiar with the histories, the criminal histories of all involved in this case?
Are you familiar with the histories, the criminal histories, the professional histories of all involved in this case, and how seemingly everyone has benefited from this situation that's been involved, with me as the exception, which I never intended to benefit from this. So
this is really gross to me. She is alleging that the people that she lied on are criminals, and that somehow should change people's perspective. It's really gross, and I haven't looked into these people for myself, but we know that the story was fabricated. So their history has nothing to do with the fact that you lied. Then she puts a little PSA out there, and she says that by stepping forward and sharing this, she has no intent to disparage anyone, and she doesn't stand for bullying, harassment, or hate speech.
By stepping forward and sharing, I have no intention to disparage anyone involved. I do not stand for bullying, harassment, or hate speech of any kind.
All I have to say about that is how rich, coming from Katie Sorensen, that she does not tolerate bullying or anything negative. You brought this upon yourself. And me personally, I would say that the top tier of being an awful individual, as far as like bullying people, would be lying on them and then filing a false police report. That is like top-notch bullying. Then she goes on to say how this whole situation, again, the one that she fabricated, is a good reflection of people's obsessions with social media culture, outward appearances, pledging loyalty to certain groups or ideologies.
This situation is the perfect reflection of our society's obsession with social media culture, outward appearances, pledging loyalties to certain groups or ideologies.
She also claims that one of the saddest things in this situation is that people were pitted against each other.
I think the most unfortunate part of this situation is that people were pitted against one another wrongfully.
Not the fact that she literally fabricated a story and tried to blame an innocent couple for this story that she made up. People's obsession with outward appearances. She is the one who on the body camera footage was talking about, oh, shaved head, a mask, BLM, box hair dye. Go watch the first part of this conversation. I'll link it down below. I just filmed it a couple days ago, where the body camera footage tells you everything that you need to know. She also claims that the local police department did not do their job of promoting peace.
And this is a situation that so easily could have been resolved had the people who were in charge of how this all played out done their job in the name of peace, promoting peace and doing what's best for the community.
Which is, again, very rich coming from her. They would not have even been in this situation if you had not fabricated this story. She then shared her statement, which I will put on screen right here. She expressed a lot of frustration as to why she couldn't talk to the people that she unfairly blamed for this situation.
This was prior to the trial actually beginning, and is the statement that I gave in hopes of us being able to find some sort of resolution as opposed to going to trial. Because of the way that everything played out, I never had an opportunity to correspond with those involved. I never had the opportunity to talk to anyone. I was vilified from the beginning. Had I done what I wanted to do, that could have been used against me and criminalized me further. And by that, I mean apologize. An apology, that's the society we live in, you guys. An apology could have been used against me to criminalize me. Unfortunately, this opportunity was never granted to me.
If somebody fabricated that I was trying to kidnap a child or abduct a child, I would not want to talk to you either. Nobody is being pitted against each other. If you're literally lying on me and filing false police reports using my name and my integrity, I don't want to talk to you either. Before I read some of the comments, I would like to read her caption for this video. It says, after 4 years, this wasn't exactly the way I wanted to start this conversation, but when the internet starts saying things about my family, my mom, my husband, my son, who has special needs, I can't in good conscience stay quiet. Thankful for my friends and family at Stand With Katie Sorensen, who helped advocate for me when I could not, but now I can and I will. This message won't appease all, but thankfully I am only living to appease an audience of one, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You literally lied on somebody and then you want to talk about Jesus? You literally misused the law enforcement in your area and then you want to talk about Jesus? Those law enforcement officials that responded to her fabricated story that day, they could have been really needed somewhere else. But they were literally sitting here dealing with somebody who lied. One of the comments that she responded to says, is anyone else seeing this? Because they somehow recently followed this account even though they have no recollection of doing so or even know who this person is. In parentheses, they said, I do remember her weird video now. Katie responded and said, this account has been private and inactive for the past 4 years, and in making it public again, there were a large number of people who had requested to follow at some point, but were all accepted at once. Someone else said, you literally tried to get innocent people incarcerated. The only acceptable thing left for you to do is apologize and shut up. Someone else said, you should just stay off social media if this is how you're going to start off after your 12-month ban. Doesn't seem like you learned anything. Someone else said, hold on, you say, do you know the criminal history of all those involved? But then you said, I'm not here to disparage anyone. You're inferring that these people have a criminal history and that justifies your actions and what happened. There are quite a few good comments, but in order to make this video digestible, I'm going to read just a couple more. Someone else said, body camera and CCTV proves that yes, you lied. And they continued, admit you wanted attention, not the best way to go about it, and to throw Jesus in now is pretty appalling. The last comment I'm going to read says that I'm literally mind blown at the number of people defending you. You lied and then lied some more and tried to destroy 2 innocent people's lives because you wanted to become a relevant mom-fluencer. For some reason, you thought the way to do that was to try and ruin a couple's lives and cause mass hysteria. The people didn't follow you, they didn't approach you, they didn't reach for the stroller. It was all a lie, and it's absolutely insane that you're doubling down on this. You could have kept your mouth shut and gone on with your life, and all of this would have been forgotten. But just like before, you need validations from strangers and want to be relevant. And it's really interesting because that statement that I showed earlier in the video that she literally agreed with and submitted, in that memo, she says that literally, like, this did not happen. But now you're jumping on Instagram again, trying to make it seem as if it happened. But anyway, I wanted to bring this little update. Like I said, I was going to close the loop, but maybe now I will provide random updates just to see like what she does. Because here's my whole thing. If you're willing to fabricate a crime and put it on 2 strangers that did nothing to you, and you think you're going to come back to social media and people are going to stop talking about you, that is literally my job as a commentary channel, to give commentary on things that need criticism, praise, dislikes, whatever it is. I'm here to talk about it. So we are here to talk about it. I'm here to talk about it. Y'all are here to talk about it. But for today, I think that we have had enough. So if you like the video, please leave a like and a comment. And if you'd like to see more from me in the future, please subscribe. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.